Initial evidence. You must file your application with the following evidence. Look at this, jump right in, criminal history. Criminal history, yeah, we have a video tutorial on criminal issues. And so this is what I'm saying is, we're going to be going, it's a very, very complex part of immigration law. And if you have a crime, see an attorney. I mean, you got to know what's going to happen to you before you file this application. You need to know all the scenarios. And you also absolutely have to tell the truth. You've got to tell the truth about your criminal record. They're going to find out. They run biometric FBI checks, and they will find out. And we're talking about little things, and is a drunk driving a criminal conviction? Yeah, little things. Parking tickets. Well, no, a parking ticket is not a criminal thing. But speeding tickets, yeah. Is it a criminal thing? Maybe it's just an infraction. I don't know. I'm not a criminal lawyer in that way. But what I will say is that giving more is better. And candor and disclosure are very, very important to the immigration officers. They want to know everything about you. And yes, you have a right to privacy. And, the Constitution protects people under the Fourth Amendment for the privacy and their personal effects and all that stuff. But we're not here to stand up for our rights in that way. We're here to get yourself a green card, right? So you're gonna my way of approaching the immigration service is to give a lot of disclosure, give as much information. If there's any question about it, put it in there. But only after you really talk to an immigration attorney who can advise you about the consequences of filing something with criminal record. Now, that being said, we have a tutorial that talks more about the criminal issues. And if you have a criminal one, check out that tutorial, because we're gonna show you in the law what is happening with these crimes and why, the grounds of inadmissibility, which means you can't get in, grounds of deportability, meaning that once you're in, you can get thrown out. There's different nuances around that stuff. There's different types of crimes and a lot of information there. Not so that you can go and be your own lawyer necessarily, but so when you talk to your lawyer, you're going to have an understanding about what's going on. And you can be in partnership with your lawyer in that way. And so that's what's going on. But let's jump in here. Criminal history. If you've ever been arrested or detained by any law enforcement officer for any reason and no charges were filed, submit an original statement by the arresting agency or applicable court order confirming that no charges were filed. Look at that. An official statement by the arresting agency, this could be hard to get, actually. I mean, they don't like to spend their time giving out official statements like that. So this can be a challenge, but this is exactly what they want, and you've got to go for it and get it. If you've ever been arrested or detained by any law enforcement officer for any reason and charges were filed, or if charges were filed against you without an arrest, submit an original court-certified copy of the complete arrest record and or disposition for each incident, example, dismissal order, conviction record, or acquittal order. Right. By the way, when they say this word here, any, let me check. Do you think that means your home country? Any country on the planet? Or are they just talking about the United States? Yeah, they're talking about anywhere. So if you got busted for murder, in your own country, they want to know that, right? And it's a big deal. So make sure then that you're, again, I mean, it can be such a hassle to get those records, especially some of these countries, an official statement by the arresting agency, good luck, right? I mean, it can be really, really tough. And at the same time, it's important that you pursue this and you take this on, because, you know, if you really do show the Immigration Service that you are giving your best efforts to get these documents, you know, they will have patience. My experience is that they will have patience with you, and they will wait and allow you time to get these documents together. And if documents really are unavailable, then, you know, you can also provide testimony about that. You know, in this country you can't get those documents. If you've ever been convicted or placed in an alternative sentencing program or rehabilitative program, such as a drug treatment or community service program, submit an original or court-certified copy of the sentencing record for each incident and evidence that you completed your sentence, specifically an original or certified copy of your probation or parole record, or evidence that you completed an alternative sentencing program or rehabilitative program. Very important. The sentencing record and, you know, what happened on your probation or parole record. And you, if you know, again, you got to have a good attorney read this stuff over and advise you, because your probation record might contain statements of your behavior while you're on probation. For instance, testing positive for a drug. Well, maybe it didn't. Maybe they didn't charge you with or convict you of being on the drug when you were on the probation. But an Immigration Service person reading that could say, "Well, look, you're a habitual drug user. You know, that's a whole new can of worms." So, very, very, very important. If you have ever had any arrest or conviction vacated, set aside, sealed, expunged, or otherwise removed from your record, submit an original or court-certified copy of the court order vacating, setting aside, sealing, expunging, or otherwise removing the arrest, conviction, or an original statement from the court that no record exists of your arrest or conviction. So, yeah, even if it's been set aside or vacated, they still want to know that. And then guess what? Then they want to see all the other documents underneath the, you know, the conviction. The conviction underneath the set aside or the expungement. They still want to know what's going on. Because a lot of times those expungements, the Immigration Service does not recognize them. Immigration Service is federal government, and the federal is bigger than the states. So a state might want to give you an expungement. You just fill out the thing and get. But you know, we're talking about the federal government. The federal government wants to decide whether or not to let you come into this country based on this behavior, and they're not going to take the state's expungement. You know, they don't care about the state's expungement. Basically, that's their attitude. Now there are some expungements and there are some vacations. There are some orders vacating convictions that are taken seriously by the Immigration Service, and so it's a nuance that, you know, you're going to want to talk to a good attorney on. Note that unless a traffic incident was alcohol or drug related, you do not need to submit documentation for traffic fines and incidents that did not involve an actual arrest if the only penalty was a fine of less than $500 and or points on your driver's license. That's right, you do not need to submit documentation. And you can. It's okay to submit documentation. So if you don't need to do it, why do it? Well, this is just my opinion on the Immigration Service. You know, if you're giving detailed on all these issues, they're going to get the sense of your honesty and your truthfulness. And, you know, I think that means a lot. Now, if they see speeding ticket, you know, is it going to start to add up and them think, wow, this person sure is a lawbreaker. They don't seem like to be a person of good moral character. You know, can you avoid that charge by not submitting this stuff? Well, it's going to be on the record anyway. Okay, so I mean, like I said, you know, some of the traffic incidents, you know, may not show up, but you know, in my experience, it's going to be helpful to and look good to lay it all out. And if you need to explain it, you'll explain it on what happened for each one.